You know, and I've mentioned this multiple times in the past that Microsoft has always been a little bit too early to the party with some of their ideas, right? I mean, you look at the original Xbox and the idea that the Xbox would launch with a hard drive. Like, people thought this was crazy. When I bought an Xbox, I actually, oddly enough, thought I needed a memory card because I didn't understand it. You know, you come from the era where you needed a memory card, so I bought a memory card. You know what I mean? You ended up not needing it unless you wanted to take like save files or your profile to your friend's house or whatever. But yeah, it's weird. You know, they also had a broadband only at a time where everybody was mostly on dial-up. So you could see why, you know, Microsoft has kind of been ahead of the game a little bit. The 360, you know, they're the ones that got Netflix into the whole streaming thing. Believe it or not, that was a Microsoft thing, right? They approached Netflix and were like, "Hey, you guys ever thought about streaming stuff to a console or whatever?" You know, the achievement system, party chat, all that stuff. You know, realistically, Xbox has done a lot. Maybe they got a little bit too far ahead of the goal with the Xbox One, with like the DRM and no use games and stuff, and they got called out for it. So I mean, you know, you have that to kind of look into as well. But this is very interesting because a lot of people, myself included, are, you know, we're old school gamers. You know, where we could also be looked at as kind of dinosaurs. But I want to get into this because I thought it was very interesting coming from Sony and very similar sounding to what Microsoft does. So, you know, this could be very, very interesting. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews. Thank you guys for taking time out to check out my video. I appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. You know, it really helps out the channel. It means a lot to me personally. You know, I do daily gaming content, so at least one piece of content a day, sometimes two, depending on what's going on. You know, I try to be informative yet fun. You know, I think a lot of people don't really kind of get that. You know, it's like, you know, I don't want to just be a straight up kind of situation where, you know, where stuff happens, you know, and where things are not looked out at, you know, a certain way or whatever. But, you know, I'm having fun with it. So let's continue to grow the channel. And it looks like it's growing, you know, decently. You know, we got some growth, which is awesome. So anyway, Phil Spencer has mentioned that, you know, there's going to be less exclusives going forward. You know, they obviously ported some games over and clearly are porting more over to PlayStation. Kind of a bold strategy, kind of a bad strategy in my opinion, because you have to wonder if every console, like I don't think Nintendo is part of this conversation because Nintendo's clearly not going to do this. But let's just say that, like, if you had your choice between a PlayStation and an Xbox, you know, I think PlayStation has that goodwill, that name brand recognition that people really look for. And, you know, it could just end up, you know, and I think that could lead to the death of Xbox. On the other hand, you know, maybe people have built up enough of a digital library where they would not leave Xbox. You know, they would just say, "Oh, well, you know what, I'm going to stick with Xbox because of this, this, and this," and that could be the case as well. The thing is when they talk about that stuff and you look at this, like, so Herman Hulst, who is like the co-CEO of PlayStation, was doing a interview, and I will link this in the description. They're talking about some of this stuff, and I thought it was very interesting. Like, this is what was brought up. Okay, so this is what the question is. It says, like, Helldivers 2, there are titles that have been released simultaneously on PS5 and PC and become huge hits. How do you plan to balance the PS5 business with PC development in the future? And Herman Hulst said this: live service titles are released on multiple platforms, so attracting new players and increasing the number of players is key to their success. Therefore, maintaining that momentum at the time of releasing the penetrating and a wide range of players is especially important in a live service field. Single player games are an important element in enhancing the appeal of the PlayStation platform itself, and we set strategic sales periods for each title. While consoles remain our core business, expanding a platform such as PC will enable us to offer our games to more people. We always prioritize providing the best experience to our players, and as part of that, we are also promoting the linking of PSN accounts to PC. So they also said, I was surprised that LEGO Horizon Adventures was released not only on PS5 and PC, but also on Nintendo Switch. Depending on the target of the game, is there a possibility of simultaneous release on platforms such as Nintendo Switch in the future? And this was Herman Hulse's response to that. He says, live service titles are released on multiple platforms because it's important that multiple players can play the game together. For other titles, we consider and decide on the policy based on whether it's best for sales format for the players and the company on a case-by-case basis. So that case-by-case basis, realistically, I thought was very interesting because you have people running with that. Now, listen, the very interesting part that are happening here is that they're kind of saying hey, we're going to do this thing as a case by case basis, which I think it's funny, but there's a lot of Xbox fans, and I understand that the Xbox fans thought process on this is that, oh well, that's what Microsoft said, that must mean that these PlayStation games are coming to Xbox. Like if they didn't put stuff like Concord and Helldivers 2 on Xbox, they're not going to put anything on Xbox. They certainly aren't going to put their heavy hitters and things like that. And I think that that's what we should really kind of look at and look into as fans. Like I think here's the thing: if Xbox were a viable platform, like if they were able to kind of get huge numbers of players and things like that, I think you might be able to see something a little bit differently. Maybe Sony would see it. If Sony, if Microsoft had the same amount of sales as Sony does with their console, that same kind of breakthrough or whatever, you might see something along those lines. But the fact that Xbox struggles to sell consoles means that it makes it less viable, less of a valuable place to put your games, more of a hassle if you're not planning on selling a ton of games, So that is a big problem that Microsoft has going forward, is that, they have this idea that, they have games, they have a platform, a console, but realistically, if Sony's already putting their stuff on PC, then isn't that what Microsoft considers an Xbox anyway? So I mean, you have to kind of look at it from that sort of aspect. I wouldn't expect God of War or anything like that coming to Xbox. Now what you will see is eventually stuff like Final Fantasy and Silent Hill 2 and some of those other like timed exclusives, third party stuff come to Xbox at some point. That'll happen. But people that are sitting there saying, oh, okay, well, there's not going to be that big kind of jump, where, hey, we're going to put our stuff on Xbox. It's just, I don't foresee that happening where you can go buy God of War on Xbox because, like he says, those are the type of games that they, want to sell people and they get people interested in the PlayStation ecosystem. So, I mean, that's kind of what they're doing there. And I also don't think that, like whatever, like a lot of people assume that Microsoft is going to have like a Steam store or something on their next console, which I don't think that's going to happen either. And like the main reason behind that is because, we kind of live in a world where, I don't think that people realize that Microsoft has to, go out there and, understand that, hey, Microsoft is going to be able to make money from their own store. They have to realize that, hey, we can't make any money from a Steam store on our console, right, or our handheld. How does Microsoft make money from that? Like, Steam isn't going to give them a percentage of it. Like, Microsoft from their own store makes 30% on third-party game sales, 30% on the microtransactions from third parties. Obviously, people have to pay to play online on Xbox. You don't have to do that on Steam. So if you have a Steam store, theoretically, you would have to allow access to Steam multiplayer, which is free, right? So you basically would allow people to circumvent ways of paying you, which would kind of defeat the purpose, I think, and I think that, Microsoft would be really, really foolish to do that, just in my opinion. We'll see how this all kind of plays out in the future, but for me anyway, when you see Sony say stuff like this and people kind of jump on it and go, oh well, look, Sony's doing the same thing, I don't really think so. Like, I think if we do start to see stuff like this, it would have had to been a situation where Microsoft was doing better in terms of their console sales, and they just aren't. It's just, I wish they were. If they were, maybe there would be a chance of that, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. So we'll see how that all works out. I'm sure you guys all have like an opinion on this. Let me know what you think down below. I certainly appreciate it. If you guys are new to the channel, give some other videos a try, like them. It's pretty much all I ask, and I very much appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Rack them up, fact them up, Crab Gamer them up. I'll catch you guys here next time. Crab Gamer, out.